Welcome to Windrush 70, which is supported by the Heritage Lottery Fund. Today I have Sam Llewellyn with me today, who's a psychotherapist and a counsellor, as many other things. I'd like to welcome you here today.
Hi. Hi.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for asking me.
So can I ask you a little bit about yourself, which is why you're here? Can you tell me about where you grew up and how it all started?
Okay. So I grew up in West London, in Chiswick in West London. I am one of 7, and I'm the baby of the family. But I went to primary school in West London. I mean, years ago, you'd go to the school at the end of your road, and that's what I did. I went to the school at the end of my road, walked to school every morning. Yeah. And then I went to secondary school, and once again, many years ago, you would go to the school in your local area, and that's what I did. From, you know, a comprehensive school, mixing with lots of different people. I mean, certainly the area I grew up in West London, predominantly white, but there were black families, and we knew everybody. You knew everybody's name, where they lived, all of the families. So certainly for us, as I say, at that time, Chiswick was kind of mainly and predominantly white. And shortly after being at comprehensive school, I didn't really have an idea of what it is that I wanted to do or what I wanted to be. Quite interesting, because there were some people in my family, my older siblings, you know, one of my sisters knew that she wanted to be an actress, one of my other sisters knew that she wanted to be a newspaper reporter, and they promptly went off and did that.
Your whole family was like a whole industry of different careers.
But I didn't know what I wanted to do, so certainly for me, I kind of, at the time, very much audio typing, shorthand. I mean, shorthand, when you say to young people now about shorthand, Pitman shorthand, people say, what are you talking about? What is shorthand?
Oh no, it's still a good skill.
Yes.
It still is a good skill.
Yeah. I was going to say, relevant. I mean, okay, but young people have, you know, text speakers, you know, as their shorthand. But, you know, years ago that was a skill, as you say, and I think there are still lots of journalists who still use shorthand. So that's what I did. I went off to West London, Hammersmith and West London College. And I think in West London in that time, I remember Linford Christie used to go to our college, and we used to see him in his, his sort of camel coat standing around. And I think when we were younger, we did lots of standing around, trying to look cool and trendy. But anyway, I mean, I went off to college, and actually, sure enough, there were lots of jobs for audio typing and shorthand, and promptly that's what I did. I mean, I think within leaving college in 1 week, I kind of got a job locally.
In the good old days.
Well, I have to say that, in the good old days, because my first wage packet was like, you know, it's like £50 that you got in cash, you know, every week, and I walked to work, and so and I think good times, and I guess the opportunity to be able to do lots of other different jobs. You know, I remember that my first job was awful. I hated it. The people I worked for were quite racist. I remember it, they were. I hated it, but, you know, I used to come home and say to my mum, God, I hate working for these people. They're really awful. But I also knew that I had to stay in this job before I could move on to another job.
So can I ask then, so you were born in this country, you've had, obviously, your whole education in this country. Where are your parents from?
My parents are both from Jamaica.
And so you just said you came home and you're telling your parents these things. So, like, what were your parents telling you at this time? Because they are technically from that Windrush generation who came here, you know, brand new. They didn't know what they were coming into. So what was it growing up with them? What was it like growing up with them?
I think my parents were always hardworking. Always kind of said, listen, you always have to work harder, stay in the job. My mum always said, listen, you know, you have to stay in that job before you can move on to something else. So, I mean, I think years ago our parents just said, not that your employers were always right, employees, but kind of just keep your head down and do what you need to do. But sure enough, I mean, I stayed there, I think, for a year before I was able to, you know, get another job. I want to be able to say I've been in this job. I enjoyed, and it was hard. I mean, I'm not saying it was all bad, but you kind of remember those moments of how you were treated. You were treated like that because of the colour of your skin. And it gave me great pleasure when I was able to sort of go in and hand in my notice and say to them, you know, I'm leaving, and you know, and it was a nice feeling, and they were really annoyed, really annoyed that I'd done that. How dare I, you know?
What, go out into the world and find other things?
Yeah. So it was a nice feeling, and
so would you say it made you stronger as a person?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Okay. Made me stronger as a person in saying, like, you know, I can do anything I put my mind to if I work hard. I mean, that's what I thought. I mean, okay, I did. I went on and did another job, and I think it was a kind of another sector. Actually, it was as a conference assistant. Actually,
okay.
And I'd say there are so many jobs. I wouldn't even bore you with all of the jobs that I've had. Yeah. But I think that was the beauty of years ago, that you could actually go from one job into another job. There was a lot more work.
So what type of roles have you had throughout your career?
Okay,
and your
so
life?
I've done traffic surveying.
Oh, okay.
Actually, outside Hammersmith, West London, traffic surveying, things you'll do for money. Yeah. I've worked in TV production. I used to work for an independent production company.
And how long did you do that for?
For about 5 or 6 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Worked on some light entertainment programmes for ITV, for BBC, comedy programmes. So, yeah, lots of, you know, I've worked as a training consultant for a big sort of American training company. Yeah. And lots of temp work within the NHS. And then once I had an opportunity to think about other things that I wanted to do, that's when I retrained to become a counsellor psychotherapist.
So do you think actually all your different varied roles, and you're like a proper adapter, and I think that's, again, one of those brilliant traits to have as a character. So do you think that's what led you into kind of the counselling and the psychotherapy and things like that? Because
no, I don't think so. I mean, I was searching. I would say that through the good thing about doing lots of different jobs is being able to say, okay, let me see what this experience is like. I remember temping within a community mental health team and thinking, wow, would I like to be a social worker, and seeing what that experience was like. But actually, I felt as though being a social worker was really hard work. Very well done, but hard work for little reward. So that was, I kind of thought, oh, could I be a social worker? I wanted to, but that was something I didn't choose to do. Or occupational therapist, I thought that was a great job, but equally I thought, wow, a great job, but not for a great deal of, you know, reward, money-wise, what have you. And then I thought, well, maybe I will sort of train to become a counsellor. I mean, I think if you go into things, you don't necessarily always know that this is what I'm going to do forever.
You just try it and see.
Yeah. So, I mean, after doing 1 year, I thought, okay, well, yeah, this is okay. It's good experience because you have to kind of go through therapy yourself. And, yeah, it's kind of you're looking within yourself rather than just, you know, outward. So I think the journey has been great because it's mean that I've been able to develop myself, learn more about myself as well, and deal with things that maybe have happened, you know, when you're younger that you don't necessarily want to deal with. And
so did your parents have, you talked about, because I think you said that, you know, only a certain amount of you were in this country living with your parents. So how much influence would you say that your parents had on you in regards to the careers that you went into and the things that you did and your attitude towards those things?
I don't know. I think our parents were kind of in the sense of if you wanted to do something, they would kind of encourage you. But I think that they were doing their jobs and doing their level best to do, you know, and for them it was very much about working hard, working to pay the bills. So I think it was a different experience. But I mean, I say that, having said all of that, my mum, remarkable woman, you know, by the age of, 30 or so, my mum had 7 children. I mean, if you think of that now. Okay. You know, that's a lot.
Where do you fall again?
I'm the last.
Oh, the baby.
But in saying that and saying about opportunities, you know, I pay tribute to my mum because my mum went back to college after 7 children, not being in education since being in Jamaica in sort of high school, and went back to college when she was 48 years old. She went off to college in Oxford and did a diploma. And if anything, if that is something that you can look up to and admire, And so the whole thread of education being really important, that is, I guess, the one thing that our parents kind of showed us. You're never too old, you know, to learn, to gain more knowledge, and that was something that, you know, greatly admire and feel that there's more in me to learn. Yeah. You know, whether it's in an academic way or not, because I think there are lots of other experiences that you gain, you know, knowledge and skills from.
And so within the counselling and the psychotherapy, how have you felt about doing that? Because it seems like obviously you've kind of dipped into those other roles, but this is what you feel passionate about. Yeah. So what is it about that role?
I think it's probably more working with, I mean, predominantly I work with women, although I've also facilitated groups with people with drug and alcohol addictions.
Oh, and where do you do that? Are there any groups that you do that with?
Yeah, a variety of groups, but mainly within West London. So, you know, other organisations that I work in partnership with. So whether that's sometimes working within women's refuges or just doing sort of things within the community.
Because I thought you were doing some things in, is it the Ealing's Women's Group as well?
Yeah, it's the Llewllyn Women's Forum. So I've recently become chair of the Llewllyn Women's Forum, and that's, kind of a bit scary, but kind of a role that I'm quite passionate about. It's just trying to...
You can completely handle it, though.
Yeah, and with the help and support of other great women who are in the borough, who are doing great things. Yeah. So, yeah, we're just trying to integrate the services that already exist within the borough, try and campaign more, try and fundraise to get the voice of women, you know, heard more, actually. So we've recently become members of the all-party parliamentary group on breast cancer. Okay. On breast cancer, sorry. I used to chair the all-party group on breast cancer, but from that experience, becoming chair of the Llewllyn Women's Forum, I thought, well, let us become members of the all-party group on domestic violence. So that means that we get invited to meetings at the House of Commons, have a say in you know, a recent bill relating to domestic violence. So I guess passionate is that meaning that you're working with people who are coming to you for help. So whether it's one-to-one counselling, psychotherapy or group work, people are there because they want to be there, in opposed to people being forced. So for me, I do feel passionate about that, because if people, as I say, coming to you for help, having a space where people can open up, non-judgmental space to say, this is what's going on for me, I may need help with this, or this happened to me. So it's more about giving people that platform to tell their story. Yeah.
So can I ask also, just lastly, kind of related to that, so in regards to the Windrush, technically your parents are part of that generation, you're part of that generation. So what do you feel about the Windrush in regards to some of the things that you've done in your life and continue to do in your life? How do you feel about that side of that?
I would say it's kind of mixed feelings about the Windrush, because you know, my parents come in here, so much hope for change, you know, they're coming for a new life, a better life, and I think a lot has kind of happened along the way. We'd kind of think, maybe some of us think that we might have been in a better position, because if you see what's going on in the EU, I mean, there are stories that are just being repeated, that people are saying, you don't live here, go back to where you come from. So from that point of view, it's kind of a bit disheartening. But on the other hand, it's kind of about people really standing up and saying, you know, we actually were part of this establishment, we helped to build it, and that actually, sometimes we may have to do a lot more to kind of keep things, to shout for things that we want. Yes, and do everything we can to kind of make it possible. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you so much.
You're very
welcome. Just to let people know, if they want to get in contact with you, what are have you got an email or website?
Certainly for the Llewllyn, for the Llewllyn Women's Forum, we are, it's all the W's at Llewllyn Women's Forum at gmail.com, and they can follow us at Llewllyn for Women.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you.
And I'm really glad to hear about all the things that you're doing. Definitely the Windrush generation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I will hand back to Lavina now.
Thank you.